Hi, and welcome back to this next video as we continue in the Summa Theologia on the attributes of God. Because if we don't understand God, the rest of the Summa is not going to make any sense because, as I mentioned a couple of times, the Summa is about our journey back to the Father, okay? God throws us out into the world, so to speak, and then he draws us back. And so if you don't understand God, you don't understand from whence you came and also where you are going, okay? So we've already gone over a few of the attributes. I'm going to lump two of them together here, and I call this one the best way to understand God's immutability and eternity is to understand you, because like all the other ones, in order to understand these attributes of God, we have to understand our life experience and who we are. And once we understand that, then we can better understand who exactly God is to whom we are journeying. Okay, so let's get right to it. I'll try to make this as quickly as possible. Okay, in question 9 of the Summa, Thomas talks about God is immutable. And if you just try to understand the immutability of God, you probably get very confused and it wouldn't make much sense to you. And so, again, we have to come to our experience of our life and what mutability means, changeableness. And then once you understand changeableness, you take it away and then you say, oh, okay, God is not like that. And so best way I can explain it is that everything in our life changes, okay? Depending on where you live, you might see changes of seasons. I live in Texas and there aren't too many seasons, but a little bit. And so we see the change in seasons. We see the change in the development of our very selves. You know, I'm almost 54 years old, and there was a time when I was 2 or 10 or 12. I remember those times, and I was very different. I looked different. I spoke differently. I thought differently, and so I have changed, and so have you as well. The weather changes, the traffic changes, we go places, we move, and so, again, we all know this is true. Life changes because that's just who we are. We are mutable creatures, and that is the way that we can understand God, basically by saying, okay, this is our experience, but God doesn't change. And so what does that mean for God not to change? Because change is so inherent in the very experience of our life. Here's what Thomas says. He says, God is altogether immutable, unchangeable, first because there is some first being whom we call God, and this first being must be pure act without any admixture of any potentiality, for that reason that absolutely potentiality is posterior to act. Now, everything which is in any way changed is in some way in potentiality. Okay, hence it is evident that it is impossible for God to be in any way changeable. I'm recording this almost at 11 o'clock at night. I'm getting tired. I'll be going to sleep soon. All right, so that's a change, okay? 3 hours ago, I wasn't tired. And I am moving, I'm changing, I'm getting older, I'm learning things. And so, again, everything about our lives is very changeable, but with God, it's not so. Secondly, because everything which is moved remains as it was in part and passes away in part. Thus, in everything which is moved, there is some kind of composition to be found, but it has been shown that in God, there is no composition. Remember, this was part of his simplicity, is that he's not, matter and form. He's not a composition of things. He is pure spirit. He is, he is existence itself, right? So he doesn't change at all. He doesn't move, and he's not, material at all, for he is altogether simple. Hence it is manifest that God cannot be moved. And thirdly, because everything which is moved acquires something by its movement and attains to what it had not attained previously. But since God is infinite, comprehending in himself all the plenitude of perfection of all being, he cannot acquire anything new, nor extend himself to anything whereto he was not extended previously. Again, if we try to understand this strictly by who God is, what God is, we're not going to be able to understand it because it's beyond us. God is so much beyond us that he's incomprehensible. Even in heaven, we will not comprehend God fully. And so we have to go to our experience and say, okay, this is how we are, and God's not like that. Okay, so there's 3 reasons. And then we move on to question number 10 in the Summa, and he talks about eternity, which means that God is outside of time, and he also defines what eternity is. I'm not going to get into that, but again, question number 10 is about God's eternity. Our life is filled with time, okay? We're constantly measuring, our day by what time it is, sports, like football or soccer, how much time is left in the clock, how much time is left in the game. Races, of course, without time, races would be pointless because we wouldn't be able to tell who won and who lost. We time years, January 1st, we have the new year and we celebrate that it's a new year, of course, in time. And then the old, watching the clock as we, wait for it to turn 5 o'clock at the end of the workday. And again, this goes without saying that everything in our life is based on time, but not with God, because Thomas says the idea of eternity follows immutability as the idea of time follows movement. Hence, as God is supremely immutable, it is supremely belongs to him to be eternal. Nor is he eternal only, but he is his own eternity. And I'll just stop right now and say that with God, because he is existence, he is his being, he is his eternity, he is his intelligence. Again, it's hard for us to explain, but God doesn't have these as qualities or attributes, but it is just who he is. And again, this should fill you with awe and wonder as you say, God is so amazing, and I'll never fully understand him, I'll never fully comprehend him, but that should not cause you to lose interest in God. Rather, it should cause you to be more interested in him because he's really fascinating, isn't he? All right, so he is his own eternity, whereas no other being is its own duration, as no other is its own being. Now, God is his own uniform being, and hence he is his own essence, so he is his own eternity. Okay, so I hope that made sense. And again, if you're scratching your head and saying, boy, this is confusing, it's hard to understand exactly who God is, 2 things. You're absolutely right. God is beyond anything that we can totally comprehend, but it also helps you understand that in God's mercy, in God's love, he sends his son down into the world as one of us so that we could have God whom we can touch and speak to, and the people who were living at the time of Jesus experience God in human form. And that is pretty awesome. And we today, as Catholics, are able to receive Jesus in the most blessed sacrament of the Eucharist. And that is the most amazing gift that we can receive as human beings, is able to not only experience Jesus, but also to take him into ourselves. Later on in the Summa, there's a whole section on the Eucharist. We'll get to that, I don't know when, later on this year. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you're enjoying this. Comment and like and subscribe and forward and all that good stuff. And we'll have the last of the attributes of God coming up in the next video, and that is that God is one. Thank you for watching. God bless you.